high quality knife is such an important asset in the kitchen. And when I say high quality, I don't necessarily mean expensive. You don't have to go out and spend $800 on a knife. We can't all afford that. I wish I could afford that. But getting something of high quality means something that's going to work well for you and going to be durable, in the long term. So you can spend smaller amounts of money and still get a knife that is going to last a long time. It's always good to do research, check places like Reddit and other forums where people are going to discuss things about their experiences. But at the end of the day, we all build our own experiences with things and then judge those opinions based on what we, believe personally. But knives, nonetheless, important. I'd say there's 3 main knives to have in the kitchen for just that daily standard cooking. You have a chef's knife, which is often quite long. This is actually a shorter variant of the one that I could have got, but quite long and used for, daily things like chopping up meat, cutting up tomatoes, chopping things in the kitchen. But I wouldn't use something like that for chopping larger veg and harder veg, things like potatoes, pumpkins, even carrots, because they're a bit harder. And I made the decision to get a pretty Damascus layered steel blade, which is lovely to look at, and lovely in the sharpness region, but unfortunately it's also quite delicate, so one wrong turn and snap, there goes my beautiful knife that I spent too much money on. Now, this one, on the other hand, as you can see, it is quite a bit thicker, and this is used for things like carrots and pumpkins. Another beautiful part about this one when chopping up vegetables is the fact that you can scrape. Now, you got to be careful with scraping because you don't want to absolutely scrape the crap out of your knife, but that long blade is really, really useful for that. Then, your third knife is something like this, a petty or a paring knife. This one's actually quite long, and I should get myself something a little bit shorter, but that's used for things like taking the tops off tomatoes, chopping the heads off of strawberries, chopping vegetables that happen to be the size of whatever knife that you get. But there is heaps of uses for it. I mean, a paring knife can be used to peel. Maybe your peel is on the fritz, maybe it just broke, and you need to peel quickly. Well, you can use a paring knife for that, because unfortunately peeling with a chef's knife would seem to be quite difficult. I'm sure it is possible, it's definitely possible, but it could be a little bit dangerous, whereas using a smaller knife is going to be a lot easier. Now, those 3 knives that I showed you then, I did spend a little bit of money on to get, a nice Japanese steel, well made, handcrafted, apart from my paring knife. But you can go with something a little bit cheaper and you're not going to necessarily run into issues. There are fantastic $100 knives, $150 knives, and $80 knives. There's also some cheaper knives. For example, Kiwi brand. I think this one was $12 on Amazon, possibly $13. Mind you, it is a little bit smaller in the blade, but they do have larger ones. It is stainless steel. I think it's got a little bit more flex to it, and it is a lot lighter. I will say that if you're not used to a light blade, it is going to be quite different. But it has managed to retain a very sharp edge, and out of the packet it was quite sharp, which was lovely. And I mean, the little tiny paring knife style of knife that I got as well was only $3, and that is also very, very, very sharp, and it's durable. Absolutely fantastic. I've been really, really happy with it, especially for the price point. And it goes to show that you don't necessarily have to spend a heap of money to get something of high quality. Unfortunately, in some cases, you can spend big money on certain brands. Now, in my case, I got a Baccarat set when I was younger, I think for my 18th birthday, and I was super rapt about it, super happy. Still, thank you, Mum, thank you, Dad. But unfortunately, it just didn't live up to what I was hoping for. And, it cost quite a lot of money to get, and it was such a big set, and it was so exciting to see so many knives that I didn't necessarily need. You can do pretty much everything with those 3 main knives, apart from very specific things like, it can be easy to use a filleting knife for doing fish fillets and things like that. But for your main things, those 3 knives are going to be great. And, my Baccarat set didn't come with a filleting knife. And that's the thing. It's a lot of money spent on a lot of knives that could have been spent elsewhere. Just getting a few high quality knives for the same cost would have done me a lot better in the long run. Unfortunately, I didn't take care of them as well as I should. But even then, the ease of sharpening it, the how well it retains its sharp edge, ended up being quite disappointing. And the most disappointing fact was the fact that they have made it look like layered Damascus, but it is in fact etched on with a laser engraver, which was the saddest thing I could ever realize of all time. But anyway, more videos to come about cooking. If you care, that's absolutely fantastic. I'm going to do some cooking stuff, some informative stuff, and all sorts of different things. I'm not a chef, but learn with me and we'll figure some things out and help each other out along the way. I don't know, it might be entertaining.